She answered, "All that is necessary is to look towards the dawn. And when the dance of the shadow at daylight is done, and the cheeks of the morning are red with the sun, when at eve in his glory he sinks from the view, and calls his planets to blaze in the blue, then pour out thy spirit in prayer. When the beautiful bend of the bough is above, like a collar of light on the bosom of love, when the moon in her brightness is floating on sky, like a banner of silver hung out in the sky, then pour thy spirit out in prayer. In the depths of the darkness unvaried in hue, when shadows are veiling the breast of the blue, when the voice of the tempest at midnight is still, and the spirit of solitude sobs on the hill, then pour thy spirit out in prayer. In the dawn of the morning, when nature's awake, and calls up her chorus to chant in the brake, mid the voice the echo abound in the woods, midst the warbling of streams and foaming of floods, then pour out thy spirit in prayer. Where by the purest streamlet the pale lily bends, like hope over grave of affectionate friends, when each star in the sky is to bright fancy seems, like an island of light and an ocean of dreams, then pour out thy spirit in prayer. When the tempest is treading the paths of the deep, and the thunder is up from his clouds cradled sleep, when the hurricane sweeps over the earth in his wrath, and leaveth footprints of God in his path, then pour out thy spirit in prayer. And I prayed. Since that day, February 4th, 1861, devotion has been the solace of many and many a weary hour. For when grief and pain and sorrow with their train afflict the soul, it remembers the keynote and the key, and the glorious upper chamber with the great glory that swept the heavens, even from the rising sun to the going down thereof. These were the circumstances which brought about the change. It gives a singularly sweet and placid conviction that my long, long night of pain life is nearly past, the agony hours nearly at their close, and so, feeling now embodied with nerve to take the task and fulfilling of a design long entertained, I determined to mold into the following form certain of my experiences. In presenting what follows, wisdom dictates a narrative style rather than any other, for the reason that it is better calculated to entertain, interest, and instruct the reader. Not a few people, nor those of the least informed class either, entertain many serious doubts as to their nature, perdurability, immortality, and eternality of the human soul. Of the last, probably no one in the body can ever be absolute certain and assured, but of the former all may be, not perhaps by means of what wherein ensues concerning the points named, but by the reason of the great knowledge whereof what follows is the key. I present this subjoined as seriously as anything could be presented. To my soul the truths were revealed, transcribed from the experimental knowledge tablets of that very soul itself, are priceless, and worth much more than what people generally receive and accept as truth, from sources of those external manifestations and through the spiritualism of the day, as these last are more valuable than the mere guesses at the truth of immortality, current previous to the advent of the fox and fish dynasty. Some 650 years, more or less, before the birth of Jesus of Nazareth, praises be to his name forever. In the 35th Olympiad, or about 2,500 years ago, there lived in the East a famous philosopher known to us through history as Thales, the Milesian, and there is no doubt that he was one of the first, if not the very first man of great mental rank and caliber, who publicly taught the doctrine of human immortality. Doubtless the same general train of reasoning resorted to by Thales was nearly, if not quite, identical with which constitutes the basis of nearly all human hope today, if we cannot accept the modern spiritual theory, which, while very comforting and satisfactory to great numbers, is far from being so millions more. For there are quite a number of questions which a doubting man may ask of those who predicate in hereafter upon the evidence furnished by spiritualism of the day, which for those who are asked not able to clearly and satisfactorily answer. To many the reasoning of the spiritualists, like that of the ancients, amount to, it is quite possible that human beings are immortal, and that is all. Many men and women are dying daily deaths from the fearful doubts that constantly arise from the truth of immortality of the soul. Doubts, too, that will still insist on coming up in spite of the startling phenomenon of the manifestations which origin is attributed to the disembodied men and women. They still leave an aching void, a void which I am about to attempt to fill, and I believe successfully. After the great Milesian came other philosophers, men of genius and intuition, who had dim and indistinct glimmerings of the great truth, feeling rather than seeing that there must be a life beyond the body. They strove to impress their convictions upon others, yet the sum total still amounted to but a probability at best. As a result of the great search for upon this mighty subject, many glimmerings of the truth were seen, but they were glimmerings only. By and by came Plato upon the stage of the world's theater. He produced Phaedo, a great work considering the times in which it first saw the light. It still remains so, and yet so acute is logical faculty of people in the present era, that even that this work fails of convincing. It is, viewed by the modern light, far, very far from being a satisfactory performance, considering the immense importance and sublimity of the theme it professes to treat. Yet, nevertheless, Plato did succeed in convincing many of the people of the bygone ages, as well as of the present, that had indeed struck the golden vein at the bottom of which the wondrous jewel lies, and in establishing a crude conviction of the great truth, which the present century will doubtless have a supreme honor of perfectly demonstrating.